Residents and authorities in Vietnam's Gia Lai province are grappling with the aftermath of Typhoon Kalmaegi, storm number 13, which made landfall in the region late Thursday, November 6, 2025, bringing ferocious winds, torrential rains, and widespread destruction. The powerful storm, which previously caused mass casualties in the Philippines, has left at least 2 people dead in Gia Lai and thousands of homes damaged across the province's central and coastal areas. The Environment Ministry reported 5 deaths across central Vietnam, with 2 fatalities confirmed in Gia Lai province and 3 others in neighboring Dak Lak province. The sheer force of the typhoon resulted in extensive property damage, particularly in the coastal area of Quy Nhon, often associated with Gia Lai in local reports as a key nearby coastal access point. Initial assessments indicate that 52 houses completely collapsed in the affected region, with an overwhelming majority of the damage concentrated in Gia Lai. More than 2,400 houses in the province had their roofs blown off or were severely damaged by the intense gusts, which reached sustained speeds of up to 149 kilometers, 92 miles per hour. Witnesses described the event in harrowing terms. "The wind is so strong, nothing can resist," said Vu Van Hao, a local resident. Another fisherman, Nguyen Van Tam, watched his second-floor roof disappear. "The house totally collapsed, nothing left," shared a tearful Vo Thi Danh, whose seaside house was swept away by high waves and storm surges. The typhoon's impact on infrastructure was immediate and severe. Uprooted trees and downed power lines became a common sight across streets in Pleiku and Quy Nhon. The state power company confirmed that 1.6 million clients lost electricity across the central region, though service to a portion had been restored by Friday morning. Internet and water supply were also disrupted, complicating communication and relief efforts. Sections of the railway in Gia Lai and Dak Lak sustained damage, necessitating rapid response from the Vietnam Railway Authority to restore transport links. In preparation for the storm, Gia Lai authorities activated the highest level of storm response, evacuating thousands of residents from high-risk coastal and flood-prone areas. Schools were closed Thursday and Friday, and several airports temporarily shuttered as a precautionary measure. As the storm weakened into a tropical depression and moved west toward Laos and Cambodia on Friday morning, residents and rescue workers, including soldiers, began the arduous task of clearing debris, removing fallen trees, and attempting to salvage belongings. The Vietnamese government is providing urgent financial support for recovery. Deputy Prime Minister Ho Duc Phuc approved the allocation of 30 billion VND, approximately $1.2 million USD, from the central budget's contingency fund to both Gia Lai and Dak Lak provinces to assist with the immense recovery costs. Kalmaegi, the 13th storm to hit Vietnam in 2025, arrived after a week of already record-breaking rainfall and flooding in the central region, which killed dozens. Scientists and officials note that a warming climate is supercharging such typhoons, making them more frequent and destructive, as warmer oceans provide more energy and a warmer atmosphere holds more moisture. Authorities continue to warn residents of the potential for continued heavy rains, landslides, and flash floods as river levels remain high. Arriving early Saturday morning, Deputy PM Phuc traveled through some of the hardest-hit districts, including Ia Gray and Dak Doa, witnessing firsthand the uprooted trees, collapsed homes, and damaged agricultural land. He met with families who had lost their homes and offered heartfelt condolences to the families of the 2 individuals who tragically perished in the province during the storm. "Our deepest sympathies go out to all those who have suffered losses," he stated during a briefing with the Provincial People's Committee. "The central government stands in solidarity with the people of Gia Lai. We will not leave anyone behind in this difficult time." A key focus of the Deputy PM's visit was the restoration of critical services. He issued stringent directives to relevant ministries and agencies regarding damaged infrastructure. He urged the state power company, EVN, to work around the clock to restore electricity to the 1.6 million affected clients across the central region. He mandated prioritizing critical infrastructure like hospitals and water treatment plants, aiming for a full restoration of residential power within the next 48 hours in accessible areas. He instructed the Ministry of Transport and the Vietnam Railway Authority to immediately clear debris and repair damaged sections of highways and railways, ensuring essential supply chains can resume operation as soon as possible. He tasked telecom providers with quickly repairing damaged cellular and internet infrastructure to allow residents to communicate with loved ones and emergency services. Acknowledging that the damage extends beyond physical structures, Deputy PM Phuoc outlined a plan for medium and long-term recovery, focusing heavily on the region's agricultural backbone. Gia Lai's economy relies heavily on industrial crops like coffee, rubber, and pepper. We must act quickly to support farmers whose crops have been decimated, he emphasized. He instructed the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development to coordinate with provincial departments to assess agricultural damage accurately and implement support programs, including providing high-quality seeds, fertilizers, and potentially low-interest loans to help farmers replant and recover their livelihoods. Concluding his visit, the Deputy PM addressed the ongoing challenge of a changing climate, noting that Kalmaegi was the 13th significant storm to hit Vietnam this year. We are seeing an undeniable increase in the frequency and intensity of natural disasters, Phuoc stated. We must adapt. I urge all provincial governments to review and upgrade their disaster preparedness plans, evacuation routes, and resilient infrastructure standards. The safety of our citizens must always be our paramount concern. The Deputy PM's hands-on approach and concrete financial commitments have been welcomed by local residents and officials in Gia Lai as they begin the difficult process of rebuilding their lives in the wake of the devastating typhoon. While the storm's core winds battered inland areas, Phu Yen's low-lying coastal areas bore the brunt of intense flooding caused by torrential rain, up to 600 millimeters in some localized areas, and the rapid discharge of water from upstream hydropower reservoirs into rivers like the Khai Lo. On the night of November 6th and into the early hours of Friday, November 7th, floodwaters in areas around the Khai Lo River rose swiftly, reaching depths of 1 to 1.5 meters in some residential areas of the former Song Kha Township, now part of the administrative area affected in eastern Dak Lak / Phu Yen region due to a recent reorganization. Residents described a sleepless night as they scrambled to move belongings to higher ground, with some families forced onto the roofs of their homes to await rescue as high tide exacerbated the situation. Major roads in Tai Hoa City, the provincial capital, and other communes like Dong Xuan were deeply submerged, cutting off traffic and stranding many overnight. Authorities in Phu Yen had initiated high-level emergency responses prior to the storm's arrival. Thousands of residents from high-risk areas, including the 275 households in Nan Chau Island Commune, Gia Lai Province, but related to the nearby coastal access points often associated with the area, were safely evacuated to storm shelters. While widespread roof damage from wind was more common in neighboring Gia Lai and Dak Lak, specific areas in Phu Yen experienced significant inundation. In the affected areas, numerous houses lost roofs or were flooded. The floodwaters caused substantial harm to the agricultural sector, the backbone of the local economy. An initial assessment highlighted damage to crops, with reports from an earlier flood event this year indicating thousands of hectares of rice and newly planted cassava being submerged and destroyed, a scenario replicated in this latest disaster. Power outages were widespread, with power poles and transformers exploding or falling in several communes like Hoa Heap Nam and Tay Hoa. Preliminary reports confirm that the province suffered severe consequences, with the Vietnam Disaster and Dike Management Authority under the Ministry of Agriculture and Environment reporting 3 confirmed deaths in Dak Lak province. The structural damage across the province was extensive. While some areas experienced wind damage typical of a typhoon, many low-lying and coastal communes, including areas previously part of Song Kha Township in Phu Yên, which were recently merged into Daklac, were inundated. Initial assessments indicated that 12 houses were completely destroyed, 326 houses had their roofs blown off, and a further 147 homes were severely flooded. Residents in communes like Dong Xuan spent a sleepless night moving belongings as floodwaters from the Kai Lo River rose swiftly, forcing some to await rescue on their rooftops. Dak Lak is the heart of Vietnam's massive coffee-growing industry. Fortunately, initial reports from the Buon Ma Thuot Coffee Association suggested the primary coffee regions largely dodged the worst damage, with only minor issues like broken branches. However, other agricultural sectors suffered heavily. The total estimated damage in Dak Lak province alone reached approximately 2.05 trillion VND, around 84 million US dollars. This includes significant losses too. About 54,000 aquaculture cages were damaged. Crops and livestock, 3,721 hectares of rice and other crops, as well as nearly 4,000 hectares of industrial and perennial fruit trees, were affected. In response to the crisis, the Dak Lak Provincial People's Committee issued urgent directives, banning residents from non-essential travel and mobilizing over 3,800 military and police officers, along with specialized vehicles and boats, for search and rescue operations. Nearly 8,000 people in storm-threatened areas were safely relocated. Deputy Prime Minister Ho Duk Phuoc moved swiftly to allocate emergency central budget funds, approving 30 billion VND for Dak Lak province to assist with immediate recovery costs and stabilize the lives of affected residents. Local authorities are focused on ensuring the transparent distribution of aid and rapid restoration of essential services. As recovery work begins and floodwaters start to recede, the province remains on alert for further flash floods and landslides in the coming days. Meanwhile, the Kai Lo River Basin became a focal point of the natural disaster response in central Vietnam after Typhoon Kalmaegi made landfall, experiencing a dramatic and rapid increase in water levels. The surge of water, driven by torrential rainfall and coordinated reservoir discharges, inundated numerous downstream localities and forced immediate, overnight evacuations. The flooding had immediate and severe consequences. The People's Committee office in Phu Mo Commune, located along the river, was reported to be severely flooded. Major roads in Tai Hoa City and other nearby areas were submerged, cutting off transport links and hindering initial relief efforts. The incident highlights the critical vulnerability of communities living along river basins in Vietnam's central region to intensifying weather events, prompting renewed calls for better early warning systems and integrated river basin management strategies in the face of climate change.